Hey guys, so today we're going to be making Soondubu, which is Korean for soft tofu stew.
Let's start with our ingredients. You're going to want about 4 to 5 onions, a sprig of green onion, and about 6 minced garlic cloves. For the toppings, I use pork belly, zucchini, and mushrooms. You can also use whatever toppings you have on hand. Seafood works well in particular. Also, you're going to need gochujang, which is Korean spicy paste, and gochugaru, which is Korean chili flakes. In addition, I also used an anchovy stock, which I'll talk about later. First, peel all the onions and finely dice them. Once you're done, set it aside for now. Next, chop 2 zucchini into thin slices. After that, I used a wet paper towel to clean off the mushrooms, and then make sure you remove the stems. I used around a dozen mushrooms here. Then, cut the mushrooms into thin slices as you did with the zucchini.
So we just diced up all our toppings, so our mushrooms, our zucchini, as well as dicing up our aromatics, our onions, as well as our minced garlic. So now we're going to start putting them in the pot and start cooking. Okay, so for the stock, we're going to be using an anchovy flavored stock. So typically you can find this at your Asian supermarket. So traditionally for this recipe, you actually don't use something like this. I'm just cheating. What you're actually supposed to do is to boil kombu as well as with dried anchovy to achieve this. However, I don't have time, so I'm just going to cheat and use a few spoonfuls of this.
Use about 1 tablespoon for every 250 milliliters of water that you use. I used around 700 milliliters of water here, so I used roughly 3 tablespoons.
Okay, so you just want to bring this to a simmer to let it keep warm while we do our cooking in another bigger pot, and then we're going to pour this in afterwards.
Now, let's prepare our meat.
Okay, so for our pork belly, what we're going to do is we're going to cut it up and then we're going to put it into our pot and cook it along with the rest of the ingredients.
If it looks like I'm having a lot of difficulty cutting this pork belly, that's because I am. I didn't sharpen my knives, so when you do this, make sure you sharpen them before you start cutting the meat.
Okay, so we're going to first oil up the pot, and once that's starting to get hot, we're going to put in our onions and garlic in there. So you want to cook till it's a little translucent. And that's when you would want to start adding the other ingredients. Okay, so you can see the onion starts to shrink more and starts to release more moisture, and you can tell the become translucent now. So now we're going to add our pork belly. Mix that in there. Right, now we're going to add our zucchini and our mushrooms. So you might notice that the pork belly doesn't look fully cooked, but don't worry about that because we're still going to cook for about another 10-15 minutes. You want to make sure you have a big pot for this if you're making it for a large serving size. So this will probably be a serving size for about 5 or 6 people. Okay, so now we're gonna add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of gochujang, depending on how spicy you want. Add more, add less. It's up to you. So for us, we're gonna be adding 2 tablespoons. And then later we can adjust for seasoning or for spice. Now we're also going to add gochujang, which is a Korean red chili pepper flakes. So we're going to add again roughly the same amount, about 2 tablespoons. And we're also going to add about a tablespoon of sesame oil. So once you see everything start to soften up a bit, particularly the mushrooms, then you can add the anchovy stock. So one thing we're also going to add is a bit of instant dashi. So this just adds a little subtle umami flavor. So we're going to add about a tablespoon of it. Super fun. So now that everything's in the pot and you mixed it well, we're going to turn the heat to about a medium low. And we're going to let this simmer for about 10 minutes. And you see the zucchini is still kind of firm.
While you wait for that, you can chop up the green onions.
Okay, so when the 10 minutes are up, or when you see the zucchini start to look pretty soft and translucent, then you can lower the heat and start adding your tofu. So you want to preferably use soft tofu, but if not, any kind of silken tofu would work as well. You might notice after a while the oil is going to kind of accumulate at the surface, so do what you can to skim off the oil. This is the best you can.
And you're done. Top it off with some black pepper and garnish it with the green onion you cut earlier.